Doesn't it feel great to be able to say great things are happening in our country after the year or two or four we've been subjected to? Over the weekend, Trump went to Madison Square Garden, got a hero's welcome. One of the heavyweight fighters gave him his belt, his championship belt. It's astonishing to see all the good things that are coming. In fact, it was just reported, got some breaking news. There are reports that indicate that the Trump administration is ready to declare a national emergency upon taking office and will use military assets to reverse the illegal immigration invasion through the mass deportation program. It's coming. It's coming. And no matter how bad your day is going right now, cheer up. You could be Joe Scarborough or Mika Brzezinski. If you haven't heard this news, this is wild. For 4 years, these useful idiots over on MSNBC have called Trump every name in the book, including ones I can't air here on this show. They've called him Hitler. They've called him a fascist. They've called him a dictator. Have you heard what they did Friday? They went with their tail between their pathetic legs and kissed the ring and met with Donald Trump. And now they're talking. Can you imagine how discombobulating it has to be to an MSNBC viewer who saw these two bimbos call the 47th president, 45th and 47th president, Adolf Hitler, and suddenly they're bragging about meeting with him to restart the conversation, to restart communications? How do you restart communications with Hitler? So you mean to tell me that Joe and Mika went to the bunker to meet with Adolf? All is forgiven? We're supposed to forget what they've done for years and years and years? Are you kidding me? You got to hear this. Again, no matter how bad your day is, it just got better because you could be these two clowns who had to look into the camera and grovel before their audience, and now confessing that all the times they called him Hitler and a fascist were lies. Look, nobody's going to meet with Hitler. Nobody's going to restart communications with a fascist dictator. So that confirms that they lied all along. And now that their ratings are in the tank, they figure they got to kiss up. You got to hear this. This is classic. Here it was from this morning's Morning Joe, which is now Morning, MOURNING, because they're mourning having to go grovel and kiss the feet of President Donald Trump.
Over the past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar A Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful, he was upbeat, he seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? Five years of political warfare.
I can't take any more of that. I actually almost feel sorry for those two useful idiots. These imbeciles, these liars who have viciously attacked. And I don't like picking fights with other broadcasters. They got their own problems. But the confirmation of the hypocrisy of the Oprah Winfreys, who took $2.5 million to appear for Kamala. $2.5 million. Clearly, Oprah didn't have any confidence in Kamala Harris. You wouldn't gouge the Kamala Harris campaign to the tune of $2.5 million, a campaign that spent $1.5 billion in 3 months. And that's why they blew all that money, giving people like Oprah a couple $1 million to appear on her behalf. They didn't believe it. They didn't mean any of it. Oprah doesn't support Kamala Harris. She wouldn't charge her friend $2.5 million. And do you think for 1 minute, one of the great texters on my platform, Austin in Clearwater, Florida, we ought to hire Austin to be a writer because this guy's so good. I've never met Austin. I don't know who Austin is. I've done shout outs to him before and he's never responded. But listen to what he just sent me that is perfect. There's not a chance in the world that President-elect Kamala Harris would have sat down with or give any consideration to any thoughts to the opposition media or cared about any common ground. But Donald Trump did. Trump sat, and incidentally, it didn't just evolve into a meeting. They begged him to go to Mar A Lago. They weren't invited to the big bash that Seb Gorka and many others went to Thursday night at Mar A Lago. So they begged Trump. And sure enough, in typical Trumpian fashion, he took to Truth Social today to explain the meeting. and you're going to love it. Now, he graciously accepted their request to meet with him. He sat down with them and had what I guess was a cordial meeting. But today on Truth Social, he wanted to set the record straight. Here's what he wrote, and I quote, "This morning, Morning Joe and Mika, who owe their careers to me, went on their show and claimed to have met with me. They made it sound like we had a summit. The truth is, Joe begged to meet with me after our big win, and when I finally agreed, he approached me like a scolded dog. He should consider himself lucky that I didn't have him thrown out of beautiful Mar A Lago. Mika was charming, as usual." This guy is so good. He is so brilliant. And that's why you need to get off his back about some of these cabinet picks. Let the game come to us. Let's see how the process plays out. We'll see if the Senate is going to confirm. We'll see if they're going to use recess appointments. There's going to be time for all of that. But sit back and bask in the brilliance and the glory of Donald John Trump. The guy's amazing. The guy's absolutely astounding. And to have those two fake MSNBC folks look into the camera and have to explain to their audience that we lied to you for all these years, that we've been calling Trump a fascist and a Hitler and a dictator. We didn't mean it, because now, like a couple of scolded dogs, we go to Mar A Lago to kiss his ring. Wasn't all they kissed. And you just love it, don't you? You just gotta love it. Welcome in to a glorious episode of the Mike Gallagher Show for a Monday, November the 18th in the Relief Factor Studios. Our number is 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. I got to get your reaction to this. Man, this is huge. I told Mark Davis about it this morning in Dallas, and he hadn't yet heard the news. What a development. Joe and Mika kissing the ring of Donald Trump. What a glorious, great day to be alive. 800-655-MIKE, your voice, your call, your reaction. Coming up.
Mike Gallagher.
Here's a great text on the MyPillow text line from Chicago. Mike, any celebrity who has real confidence or was truly excited about a candidate would not charge a dime to help the candidate they believed in. Kamala Harris's campaign shelled out nearly $2.5 million to Oprah Winfrey for the celebrity-packed town hall that Harpo Productions hosted. More than double the original estimate that was reported. It was first reported that Oprah got $1 million. Sources told the New York Times that Oprah Winfrey's company had actually been paid closer to $2.5 million. Oprah last week denied receiving any personal payments. Well, of course you didn't get a personal payment. You own Harpo Productions. You got $2.5 million, liar. These are liars. This is what watching these liars exposed, it's so gratifying after what we've all been through for 4 years to see Joe and Mika groveling, in Trump's words, like scolded dogs. He actually had nice things to say about Mika, but not so much Joe Scarborough. Do you know how awful that has to be? And Christian tells me that on social media, MSNBC fans are losing their minds. They're so mad at Joe and Mika. Well, you can't blame them. Joe and Mika told them he was Hitler. What are you doing meeting with Hitler? Why are you begging to go have dinner with a fascist at Mar A Lago? No decent person does that. Well, guess what? They're not decent people. And to watch indecent people exposed is remarkable. Bonnie in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Hey, Bonnie, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Good morning, Mike. I love your show. I listen every morning.
Thank you.
I would like to know why we didn't hear an apology from them to Donald Trump.
This kind of is an apology, isn't it?
Well, but did they say, I'm sorry, we were wrong?
They did everything
and
but.
to their listeners as well.
Yeah, but they did everything but. They did everything. The fact that they went with their tail between their legs shows, I mean, Bonnie, their whole side, they're just utterly defeated. This is an utter defeat for them on so many levels. Golly, it's kind of crazy. Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate your kind words. I mean, this is amazing. And, you know, look, it's time to get the job done. Now the heavy lifting begins.